Here we go. AK-47, the very best there is. When you absolutely, positively got to kill every motherfucker in the room, except no substitutes.
Nothing gets between me and my AK.
What's up, guys? Mo here with Raven Wing. A lot of guys been asking questions about the AK after we put out the Roof Korean homies running that thing real nice.
아이 씨발년아 꺼지라고 이 쌍년아!
어휴, 아 이놈의 새끼 그냥.
씨발 다 싹 죽여버릴 테니까.
So just want to talk about our AK setups real quick. Both of mine. This first one that you guys saw heavily featured in that video is my Rifle Dynamics AK. Rifle Dynamics is kind of a household US AK name now. They've probably been that before too. They make phenomenal AKs. Them, Krebs, and slowly creeping up, the homie Brian at Occam Defense make fantastic AKs. The price of 7.62x39 hasn't really shot up during the ammo apocalypse, so it seems like a lot of people are gravitating towards the platform. I want to put out a warning though, there are a lot of dudes making AKs that are frankly overcharging, and honestly they don't know what they're doing, or they know enough to overcharge. If your AK build is going over 3,000 or 2,500 to 3,000, and it's going over that, these Rifle Dynamics are about 2,200. They don't really get much better than that. Brian's from Occam Defense's AKs are 25, 3,000. His background is in aerospace engineering, so a lot of guys don't have his backgrounds to be pouring their love into an AK system like that. So if you find your build creeping up over that, you might want to stop and think about just getting one that's already built from a well-known manufacturer that is backed up by their guarantee. So let's get into this AK setup real quick. Rifle Dynamics, pretty simple AK these days. M4 adapter stock, Magpul. One note about this, I had the slimmer grip on it. It was actually causing a lot of tension in my forearm, so I switched to a wider grip, and that allows better purchase. So if you've got larger hands, the thinner style AK grip is probably going to do more damage than help. Running Aimpoint H2 on that. Flashlight, because if you're running the gun, you probably want a flashlight on it. It was awesome that Jim actually did this wood himself. So that's kind of like my favorite piece on this AK is that wood grain handle. Running Magpul AK mags, kind of like one of these standards these days. Anything else special about this is the Haley sling. For the most part, me personally, when I run AKs, I like running them in 1-point configuration, and when I'm stowing them or just letting them hang, I like them in 2-point configuration. With the manipulations of the gun, for me, I just find it to be a lot easier in 1-point mode when actually running the gun. So this is one of my favorite AK setups. It's kind of my homage to that OG Magpul AK that Travis and Costa have forever. Unfortunately, there's no ambi charger on this because I don't have a bunch of old and broken Masadas to chop up to make ambi charging handles. So this one has, as you can see from the front, the Occam Defense rail. I believe this is one of the first 300 that Brian made. The absolute most awesome thing about this rail is the heat shielding. If you run AKs, whether you're left-handed or right-handed, chances are you're going to have one glove on, rocking that Michael Jackson style, because after 3-4 rounds, that thing gets piping hot. The Occam Defense rail with that incredible heat shielding, we've ran mags and mags and mags and not felt a bloody thing on our hands, heat-wise anyways. So that is my favorite part about Occam builds in general, and thankfully Brian sells the rail by itself, so you can have your own build with that. So this is a Saiga 223 AK. Again, also kind of one of my favorites. It shoots super soft with the Surefire brake on it. It is set up as my night vision AK with the PEC on it and the EOTech. Something about EOTechs on AKs I think look pretty hot. This one was redone by John over at M13 Industries. He's put his charging handle on and went through the guts. He's thrown on a bullet guide because she had a little bit of feeding problems. Installed the Occam rail, and it runs like a champ. Due to the AK video we put out, a couple of dudes are asking about specific reload types for the AK or different types of reloads that you may do. We're just going to go over a few of them, and you kind of pick your poison how you want to run your AK. So the first one, I don't know if there's any cool guy name with it. I learned this from Travis Haley. I just call it an American style AK reload. I don't even know if that's accurate, but that is the one that you saw most in the video, which for the most part looks like this. Take out the magazine, insert, come underneath, rack it again, and then on to the second round. that is for the most part an American style AK reload. So the other ways you can skin this cat are guys will want to break the rifle down up high. For the most part, that type of reload, we like to use it and teach it when you're actually moving. That underneath style AK reload, you're not going to be able to pull that off when you're on the move. Standing still, yes, but on the move, it would look more like that reload would probably be better served when you're moving around. Now, as far as looking into the mag well, yes and no. I mean, you can see it when it's rolled up here. You don't have to stare directly at it like it's not a hot chick on Instagram. You don't need to look directly at it. Through your peripherals, you should plainly be able to see a magazine well. American style reload coming underneath. You probably can't see from the sunglasses, but my eyes do look down into this area. Granted, I cannot see the mag well, but there is still a guide to coming up. That magazine is your reference point to where to put the other magazine in. And yes, that is duct tape that you see on the magazine handle because it is sharp and it hurts. You gotta have a little bit of ghetto on AKs. That's just how you gotta do it. All right, magazine out first, AK reload.
You're so used to getting the magazine first.
In my brain, it's like, yo, this shit is slow. Don't do that shit no more. Right, mag out first, AK reload. Man, these things are loading really, really good, dude. Bro, I'm pretty sure it's the tape. I personally like to keep the gun straight up and down. My partner Ethan likes to cant it a little bit on his reload. You're actually going to be able to see the mag well a little bit when you cant it. Do know that you're going to have to come at a different angle when the gun is canted. If you're used to coming in at this angle, you start canting the gun, you're going to start missing and your reloads are just going to become frustrating. So slow down and actually look at what you're doing. So again, a lot of people will also have this problem coming up on the American style AK reload, is that they will come here, bang, turn the gun a little bit, kick it out, and then try to force it straight on. The AK can be somewhat unforgiving when you're reloading, so you got to get this thing deep in the hole and rock it back. Otherwise, a half load, you might end up with the back end of the mag in the gun. That has happened numerous times. Not a fun time. When first learning this, I have to put my knuckles up here, flat, maybe even make contact to kind of make a proprioceptive index, and then rock back. And once you start getting used to the motions of your AK, then you can start getting faster with it and know that how deep you need to see it kind of almost by touch. So for those of you who are left-handed running AKs, it can be a little bit tricky manipulating the safety lever. And yes, you will be manipulating the safety lever on an AK. You're gonna have to start back here almost with a magnet grip, click it down, and then come up. Reloading is the same, out, in, which obviously, as you can just tell, since the charging handle's on the right side of the gun, it is easier for right-handers to maintain fire control and then rack the gun.